I'm nervous. You're making me nervous.
Oh no, don't be nervous.
Okay. 3, 2, and... All right. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Fun Shoot podcast with me, Jong. I'm here with one of the most busy, most talented people that I've come across in this little community of ours, Miss Gemma Stone. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much. That was such a nice introduction.
Yeah, I'm very excited. And that's just like the tip of the iceberg because the point of this podcast is me bringing, friends, colleagues, people that I've interacted with. I call them light shapers, image makers, creators, creatives, um, to talk about the process of creativity and their creation of their art and art form. You have a lot.
Yes, that's true.
You have a lot of not only expertise, but you have a lot of fields that you dabble in. I'm very, very excited to not only hear about it, learn from it, but I guess like one of the common threads that I want to try to show or tell people in the podcast is how difficult it is just to do the stuff that we want, the
Yes.
stuff that we like. And it's not always kind of like, follow your dreams and it all happens. So you need to supplement those dreams. So I'm very, very excited to like get into the nitty gritty of all those. But before I read through my notes of
Mhm.
your career, tell the people who's Miss Gemma Stone,
Sure.
right?
Okay, so Gemma Stone is my stage name for burlesque,
Mhm.
but I also professionally do go by Gemma Smith.
Mhm.
But Gemma is one and the same. And so by day, I'm a manager
Mhm.
at a kitten nursery here in New York City.
One of the things that we have in common, love of cats.
Yes,
Yeah.
your cat Whiskey is beautiful and
Yeah.
an angel. And so that's my day job. And by night, or by when I'm not working,
Mhm.
I produce variety shows. So
Mhm.
I produce the Catbaret, a
Yeah.
cat-themed cabaret. I produce now a new show that you're doing the photos for,
100%.
Reali-Tease burlesque. So it's a burlesque show based off reality TV,
Mhm.
another one of my passions. So there's a theme with cats, burlesque, and then I'm also a voiceover actor, and I
Mhm.
have an agent for that.
Mhm.
Um, I'm trying to think. Those are my main
Mhm.
hustles. I do want to bring them all together. So I have a concept for a reality TV
There
show
you go.
called Tails and Tassels,
Mhm.
where I help New York City's nightlife performers who may have problems with their cats. And I bring in a team of experts to help them. And so I shot a sizzle reel for this, and I've been pitching it, and I've
Mhm.
had meetings, but it doesn't seem like now is the best time for new people to make it in reality TV.
It's just like I don't think any time is a great time. It's just you just pound doors and see what
Yes.
comes down, right?
Cold emails.
Mhm.
That is what I do. So I'm thinking about while I'm still like pursuing that to also start a podcast. So I'm
Yeah,
so
go.
excited to be here. And so those are all, I think, the main things that I like balance and do in my life.
See, that's what is common with the people that I've been friends with, people that I've brought to the podcast is they have a few passions.
Mhm.
I mean, for me at least, very rarely do I know people that this is my thing. This is my one and only thing. Partly or a majority reason of it is because of commerce. We need to pay our bills as much as we want to be artists, creatives, or if I just want to be, a photographer or a dancer, an actor. We need to pay rent. We need to pay bills. So we do have day jobs. A lot of us do.
Absolutely.
And conversely too, like me, I'm on the opposite end because my 9 to 5 is more corporate.
Mm.
My 5 to whenever it ends is more artistic. If I just look at emails and spreadsheets all day, I'm gonna, go crazy.
Oh,
So this is kind of
completely.
like my thing. But I love the idea that even though if we list it down, you're a voiceover actor,
Uh-huh.
you manage a kitten rescue.
Yeah, I'm one of the managers.
Mhm.
Yes.
And then you're a spokesperson for that as
Oh,
well,
yes. Oh my gosh.
right?
Look at you remembering
course.
things I forgot.
Mhm.
Yes. So this is my most exciting part of
Hmm.
my day job. So my actual title is administrative manager, and I do oversee. I have some direct reports, and I oversee some operational things at the nursery. But I get to be our spokesperson, and it
Hmm.
is actually the ASPCA kitten
Yes.
nursery. So I get to go on camera with kittens, like on live broadcast,
Hmm.
and share the work that we do, and encourage others to get involved. So like fostering,
Hmm.
volunteering, adopting cats, and that's a big part of my job. That kind of it's my day job and it ties together the things that I love to
Yeah.
do. Like so many, I went to school for theater.
Mhm.
So
Oh, I was gonna say that was my next question. Is like, what is the real background? But like, yeah, we're seeing this pattern where it might not be directly connected to the day and the night jobs, but there's this common thread that you speak, you care, you make themes of your shows from the things that you love, like cats.
yes.
So it's a little bit more, I think, enjoyable for you, if I'm not mistaken. But also, it makes sense because like you're an expert. When you talk about puns about cats, because you're working with cats and talking to people about and everything in and around cats and kittens, jokes and themes and songs and videos and fun stuff, kind of just a little bit easier. So, how does the different jobs kind of push each other, help each other out in your day to day?
Well, they definitely do
Mhm,
because I definitely feel like it kind of aligns me to
mhm,
have similar passions and
mhm,
interests and they inform one another. So, yes, when I'm working at the kitten nursery,
mhm,
I meet so many wonderful people who also love
yeah,
cats. And when I'm hosting the Catbaret, I feel comfortable talking to kind of a similar audience of
mhm,
cat lovers. I really like bringing people together
yeah,
to celebrate things. That's kind of like my why is to bring people together to celebrate a common theme. And I also was going to say something earlier. You mentioned a
mhm,
lot of artists have different projects,
mhm,
right? Because, yes, we have to have a day
yeah,
job.
mhm,
And also for me, I like having a lot of different irons in the fire
okay,
so that, okay, I don't have any meetings for Tails and Tassels coming up this
mhm,
week, but guess what? I'm on this podcast right now
yeah,
and I got my Reali-Tease show
mhm,
later this month and kind of like to be able to get excited about different things. So my eggs aren't all in one basket.
mhm. And we are going to get into like the origin story of
Okay.
what brought you to that. But coming off your point is everybody wants to have a lot of like pans on the fire, right?
Mhm.
Everybody wants to have a lot of projects. Not a lot of people have that time. How do you manage to kind of make sure that you're both doing an adequate or like a delightful job in any of your different projects, but also making sure that you have time for you and other stuff?
Absolutely. That's a
Mhm,
great question. I do happen to be kind of type A. So
mhm,
I do like have a passion planner
mhm.
that I
Good.
write in.
Mhm.
It's like it's called a passion planner. I'm an elder millennial, so I like to write things down. And I do schedule in time for rest. But also an interesting point. So I used to work 40 hours a week, like a
Mhm,
normal full-time job
mhm,
at the kit nursery for years. I've been there 8 years now. A couple years ago, I realized I was growing in
mhm,
these projects. I want to start,
mhm,
growing my side hustles to also monetize
mhm,
them. I was booking some voiceover
mhm,
work. So I talked to my supervisor at work and I said, for me to be here long term, I feel like I would need to work 32 hours a week, which I would still get my benefits and
okay.
things.
Mhm,
And then I feel like I would be able to do all my work in those hours. I really believe it. If I could work 32 hours a week, so 4 days a week, I feel like I can be here a really long time
mhm,
because now my other projects are growing and that would give me the time.
yeah.
And my manager thought about it, brought it
Mhm,
to her leadership. They agreed.
yeah.
And I had a whole year to prepare. And then about a year ago, it went into effect. And so now I make less
Mhm,
money, but but I'm happier
yeah.
because now I have more time because I
You
wouldn't otherwise.
make less money in one revenue
Yes.
stream, but you open opportunities for, you might not be monetarily making up some stuff, but I've seen you work these shows.
Mhm.
I've filmed and I've photographed a bunch of these shows, and it's obvious to see that the performers there are having fun, you're having fun,
Oh.
and the damn audience is killing it. Like, I hate to jump topics, but just a little bit of a teaser in terms of your Reali-Tease burlesque show.
Yes.
You did your first Vanderpump Rules parody, I have a passing notion of what Vanderpump Rules are. I've heard of the current scandals and the wild things that had happened the past little over the year. I did not expect that every single audience member will remember every single speech in every single snippet of dialogue that is sneaked into a performance song. That is just wild. So that's it's kind of it's I think what I wanted to kind of really highlight there is something that I've never been able to at least have a firsthand experience of is yes, you have to, if you do have a day job, and it might not work for every job, but you can bring it up to your managers, your peers, where you can still provide as much or even more efficient, more passionate work with lesser time. Because like I I think the default wiring of most people is just like you just
Yeah.
work faster. Not like okay, everybody's fighting for hours now. People get like no, you can take a few hours here and then put it into something else because that's definitely awesome. Um, but I guess what brought you to your current passions, like particularly voiceover and
Mhm.
burlesque? How
Mhm.
did that pop up? Yeah. Mhm.
Sure. So I actually went to college for theater
Okay.
in Virginia,
Mm.
and I was a high school theater teacher for 3 years in my early
Mhm.
20s. So that was my job before I moved to New York.
Theater kids.
Yeah,
There you go.
total. Yeah, I was very young at the time, and I actually went to school for acting, not for teaching.
Mm.
So it was a really tough 3 years. It was very challenging, but I did
Mhm.
really enjoy it. But deep down, I knew I wanted to move to New York and pursue
Got
it.
it.
So I moved here like 12 years ago, and I did hit the ground running, like going to auditions and things like that. But soon I realized I was most passionate about like hosting,
Interesting. Okay.
and voiceover was always an interest as
Mm.
well. But like I really like hosting like in real life, like if
Mhm.
people come over, like bringing people together, and like I just that comes naturally to me more so than playing different characters or like
Mhm.
theater, TV, film. So then what happened? So then I got a day job at a veterinary
Mhm.
clinic. So that's how my passion for animals
Mhm.
started while I was like
Mhm.
going to auditions and stuff. Then I got divorced
Mhm.
at 30. And yeah, so that was a big life change, which took a break from pursuing acting. At that time, I had made a web series about pets.
Mhm.
I hadn't done a whole lot. Maybe I had one national commercial. That was a big
Okay.
deal for me.
Mm.
Um, but through this year of the divorce, I lived in Astoria, and there's this amazing venue, QED
Great. Great.
Astoria, and I saw some like comedy shows there, and I was started working at the kitten nursery,
Mhm.
and I didn't have a lot of creativity in my life because my life had really changed, right?
Yeah.
Like so I said, what if I created a show, and like what would I create it about?
Interesting.
And that's how I decided to create Catbaret,
Yeah.
a cat themed variety show. And through Catbaret, I discovered burlesque.
Oh, okay.
Yes, so I never really seen burlesque. I never thought I would ever do burlesque.
Mhm.
Like this wasn't anything I was that familiar with, but I discovered it and then started a class at New York
School
School
of
of
Burlesque.
Burlesque. Yeah, and I took the act development class.
Miss Joe Weldon, correctly?
Oh, it was with Jezebel Express,
Got it.
but
Okay.
Joe was there as well. But
Mhm.
Jezebel was my teacher. It was
Awesome.
great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is the mecca for everybody who wants to learn the or just have a good time, explore their artistry, explore their bodies, right? So it's great.
Oh, I loved it. It just like opened up a world of, oh my gosh, burlesque is so fun and
Mhm.
cheeky and funny, or it can be whatever you make it based on the
Exactly.
person doing it. And you can be inspired by so many different things, such as music, costumes. I was just really
Mhm.
drawn to it. I love having burlesque at the Cabaret.
Mhm.
I always have to be careful that I don't have too much burlesque
Mhm.
because it's a variety show. So I always want to have music and comedy as
Mhm.
well. But then just to tie in the voiceover, during COVID, my husband, he's a my now husband,
Mhm.
he's a jazz musician and he also has audio equipment. And so we
Oh,
made a
okay.
closet, my voiceover booth,
Mhm.
because I thought during COVID maybe I could start dabbling and auditioning and trying to get other streams of income with voiceover.
Mhm.
And I auditioned a lot on this platform,
Mhm.
Voice 123, and then eventually um, started working with an agent.
Got
And
it.
I've been with them for about a year. And
Mhm.
so that's kind of how I really got more serious about voiceover.
And That's always something that we hear everywhere. If there's something that sparks joy or interest you, it doesn't hurt to just start. Like, just you got a closet, you got some equipment with a mic, voiceover sounds accessible. The burlesque thing is a little bit more. I think it's a little bit more technical, so it's good to hear that. In some instances, taking classes is also important, like investing in those. But I always look at it as half craft, but also half hobby, passion, therapy, right? It's like it's not just like you when you do a comedy class or an improv class or an acting class, you don't have to be like an Oscar winning actor, but it's a start. How do you make sure that, like, in, for example, voiceover, that
Mhm.
is more happenstance with your now husband,
Mhm.
equipment, and some monocle of interest, like pulling it from your hosting chops? How do you make sure that the quality of training and practice that you get both in voice acting and burlesque is something that, you know one of the things that other, say, oldened, more seasoned people in a
Mhm.
particular craft, if
Uh-huh.
they see new people coming in, they always say like, oh, they're just like dabbling, and then they're like cluttering the space. So how do you make sure that your quality is of your standards and above?
Well, with voiceover, I also took classes
Okay,
during
great.
COVID. It was Zoom at the time with Roger Becker, really great voiceover teacher. And I think he's an agent now as well. And with voiceover, I stick to things within my realm
Mm.
of my voice. Like
Oh, perfect.
I do like upbeat, warm narrator type,
Mhm.
relatable friend, conversational type. I don't I'd have the time right now to focus on making like a character reel of all different
Got
voices.
it.
I kind of keep my
Mhm.
scope authentic to who I am. And right now, I'm only doing auditions that like my agent sends me
Mhm.
right now. My voiceover isn't one of my
Yeah.
biggest priorities. I think with burlesque, because you're right,
Mhm.
there's so many amazing
Sure.
burlesque
Mhm.
dancers or performers who have been in this scene way more seasoned than I
Yeah.
am. I'm such a newbie when it comes to burlesque. I've realized that my real passion on the nightlife scene is producing shows.
Mhm.
And if I want to perform a burlesque act in my Catbaret, I will. I
Mhm.
have a cat lady act I love, and I'm always coming up with some ideas for new acts. And then in my Reali-Tease burlesque show that I host, I can always come up with a new act on the theme of that show.
Mhm.
And I love to go out and see shows and perform, support other burlesque performers. And I'd love to perform in other people's shows
Mhm.
more. But because I have so many
Sure.
different projects of my
Mhm.
own, I'm kind of limiting my focus of what I'm focusing
Mhm.
on to my
Mhm.
projects. And if someone would love for me to be in their show, I'd love to do it. But I understand that there are real like pros out there
Mhm.
in shows like every night,
Mhm.
and I love to go see them and cheer them on.
Yeah. No, I think the thing that I took away from that is, keeping it within your realm, right? That's
Mhm.
the it is a difficult balance, and even me in my passions, like I don't know where the line is where, like, I can do X much.
Mhm.
Sometimes we hear people, yeah, just like fake it until you make it, which works.
Yeah.
I think there's always a certain portion of what we do. It's like we'll figure it out as we go along. But there's always like hearing that you study, you go to classes, you support other performers. That's more of like you want to make sure that we understand the field that we're jumping into,
Mhm.
where not disrespecting anything, but also understanding what things are, because like being a producer is difficult.
Mhm.
There's no there probably are books about hosting and emceeing, but like situational differences is occur. So it's always good to hear where people are still like, great, I'm doing new things, but I'm gonna do it in a scope that is not going to be like, let me take everything that I can and just like fall short of like audience's expectations.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I like operating within my means, within my capacity, so I can do a good job at what I do.
100%. And speaking of jobs, and we're talking about your passions already. We did a little bit of snippet about the realities
Mhm.
and your cat beret. Before we dive into those, if somebody is interested in going to any of your projects, be it be it burlesque, be it a kittens a web series or podcast or whatnot. What is the Gemma Stone, Gemma Smith brand? What's your aesthetic?
And I love that you're asking
Mhm.
this because, side note, I just decided to streamline my Instagram
There you
accounts because I
go.
had a Gemma Stone
Mhm,
burlesque and then my main one, Gemma Smith
mhm,
NYC. And I was like, this is too much.
mhm,
And I'm not outwardly like performing burlesque all the time like other
mhm.
performers. I'm really Gemma Smith.
Yeah.
And I am Gemma Stone when
Mhm,
I'm on stage hosting
mhm,
realities. But like, so I just like kind of streamlined that. And so Gemma Smith, who also is Gemma Stone,
mhm,
I guess my like brand,
mhm.
I like to think of myself as like cat lady, chic, sexy cat lady vibes,
Yeah.
warm cat lady, but like a little sexy.
Yeah, I people I think the label, the connotation cat lady has been evolving the past decade, I guess, because I think society has always been more of like dog people. When you say you're a cat lady, you're old, you have 100 cats in your apartment, and don't talk to anyone. But now everybody, it's like everybody has cats. Everybody has um, um, kind of like walk their cats outside nowadays.
Oh,
So
yeah.
being cat lady chic is yeah, it's you can visualize it real quick. 'Cause sometimes like this is my brand. It's like I don't get that. I don't, I'll need to see it. So cat lady chic, and what inspired you to be who you are, do the things that you are doing now? People, things, events.
Yeah, well, I think just in my life when I got divorced when I was 30,
Mhm,
I grew so much.
mhm,
I went out to museums. I went on dates. I had never done that. I went to thrift and vintage
mhm,
stores. I used to not wear a lot of like, like I like a lot of colors and
mhm,
patterns. I like vintage clothes,
mhm,
vintage inspired things, or like thrift.
mhm,
And I love to like this dress. This is my one of my favorite dresses. I think it was like $10 at a thrift store. Like I just got very inspired by things that I'm like, what do I like? Because when you end a relationship and you and your partner had decorated the apartment, you have the first time to think, well, what do just me?
mhm,
What do I like? And so I think that time in my life, I took a lot of inspiration from all different places.
mhm. And again, we're not saying that you have to be divorced like us to find your inspiration, but you don't wait until you have like a life altering event in order to find your brand and your stuff. But it's always good. It's never too late, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
never too late. And I'm
Mhm,
always exploring now. And I want to say
mhm,
a current inspiration.
mhm.
Do you know who Queen Herbie is?
Oh no.
Okay, I'm obsessed with her. You have to look her up.
Uh-huh.
She has her hair is cut just like mine, but I've had this haircut for like 9 years, so
Okay.
that's not why.
For the audio
So yeah,
listeners, it's technically called a bob,
yeah,
right?
it's a bob.
Bob with bangs,
Hmm.
which weird because my ex-wife also had a shorter version of your bob. It's like
Ah,
shorter bangs,
oh,
little higher
I
bangs.
like that though.
So I do again. It's difficult to maintain that look.
I know you've got to get it cut a lot. I'm actually thinking about doing it a little
There you go.
shorter, like the more like 1920s.
Yeah, so that was exactly how my ex-wife did. But even for me, coming from $25 haircut plus tip every month,
Yeah.
and I was like, no, I'm just gonna grow my hair long because that $25 a month is a little too expensive to like what $150 every 3 weeks to maintain your bangs.
Oh, yeah, good. Oh, yeah. My bang trims are way more affordable, but
Okay.
it's not so bad for me, thankfully. But I also don't color my hair. So I save
Oh,
money there. This is just my natural color.
you lucky. It's super black. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yes. I'm very
Okay.
lucky, so I don't have to pay for that
Yeah.
until I go gray.
All right. So you let's talk about the shows most
Yes.
importantly, because not only is it the place where we started interacting with. I've been to the show. I've seen you both MC perform, but you've also been to my Best Buds show at the Nudie show and the Beauty
Yes.
Bar with Lucy Buttons. So I saw you perform there as well. So we've touched that these are the amalgamations of all of your interests and then you spun it forward to become its show, but let's break it down. Realities,
Hmm.
right? What can people expect when they go to a realities event?
Sure.
Mm,
So it's a burlesque show based off your favorite reality TV. So
mhm,
performers paying tribute to a certain reality TV show each show.
mhm,
Now, I came up with this idea, I think just because last year I was in the Richmond Burlesque Festival and my some family members came and they love Bravo shows and they
Mhm,
had just gotten me into Vanderpump Rules.
mhm,
And we were making jokes like, wouldn't this be so funny if
mm.
people were like characters or the stars from Vanderpump Rules and doing burlesque? And we just kept coming up with all these creative, silly, funny ideas. And I just had this feeling in my gut all last year like, I have to make this happen.
Mhm.
Like, I'm going to do this. Sometimes I get a feeling I'm like, I need to do this.
Okay.
And I did it in March. I first just brought it to the
Mhm,
stage. You were there in Brooklyn at Hellphone, and it was called Pumped,
mhm.
the Vanderpump Rules burlesque parody. And we have people singing the theme song is Lisa Vanderpump.
It's wild. Again,
Yeah.
I can't reiterate it enough because uh, most people would probably have been to some form of burlesque or drag show. If not, you should. But the idea of it is there will be songs of theme or tangential to the theme of whatever the event that you were trying to do. But occasionally, you'll splice dialogue from the show,
Hmm.
right? Usually happens. Like drag performers do it a lot, and then when they do it, sure, it's part of the performance. It pushes the narrative. It's the first time I've seen it. Everybody in the fucking room do the dialogue,
Yeah.
would say the dialogue, and it's not one or two out of the what 6, 7 performers.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty much all of them. It's like it was freaky because like I didn't know Vanderpump, or I only know of Vanderpump because of the TikToks where actual like bros
Hmm.
would make has a whiteboard
I've
with
seen
all the
this.
names, and
Yes.
then they
It's so
kind of like
funny.
draw all of the
Who
different
is who?
incestual
Yeah.
whatever, who cheated on whom, who dated from whom, from where. So I enjoy those, but you're right. It's like there's always it's New York. There's always a subgroup of people that are highly passionate about certain something. But I guess Vanderpump just was a hit,
Yeah,
right?
I just thought, I haven't heard of anyone here in New York doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of niche, but let me see what interest there is. And so I reached out in the Facebook industry
Hmm.
group for the burlesque performers, and the people that submitted all were really excited about it,
Hmm.
had specific ideas. I actually cast every person that
Hmm.
submitted. It wasn't that many people, it's
Hmm.
very niche. And you're right, all of the performers cut their songs so well with different lines from the shows. I mean, we have Nira plays Ariana rising from the ashes of Scandival and ends up, dancing in Chicago at the end, which is so perfect. And Peach Fuzz is doing a draglesque performance of superstars. And then they had a duet that's basically telling the story of
Yeah.
Scandival. Like, and I'm Sheena because if anyone's listening that watches Vanderpump Rules, she would make it about herself. And so there's so many inside jokes, and so my goal with realities is it's not always going to be Vanderpump
Hmm.
Rules. Some people might love
Yeah.
this
Hmm.
theme. Some people are like, what is that? I want Survivor burlesque.
Yeah.
So I'm aiming to make this a quarterly show at Caveat
Hmm.
on the Lower East Side. So our next show, Pumped, is June 25th.
Hmm.
And after that, I'm aiming for one in the early fall. And I'm actually going to be doing some sourcing from our followers
Hmm.
and from other burlesque performers of like, what reality
What
TV are
reality
you
show?
into?
Yeah.
And like, you want to see, because I don't want to make it just what I like. I actually want to really find what the audience wants.
And with the recent pandemic where a lot of new IPs have brought about, like hearing a lot of Love Island, I'm hearing a
Yes.
lot of Love is Blind. There's
Hmm.
well, I guess fortunately or unfortunately, there's a lot of scandals or kind
Yeah.
of a news, like ill news behind them, but that makes it more makes it more popular in the zeitgeist, but also like below deck,
Yes. Oh my gosh. I actually really want to do a below deck
I
one.
think, but also, free tips too. But again, below deck is fun because also just the fact that people are in nautical outfits, that's already
So
a
cute.
fun crossover. There's probably going to be a lot of yacht rock there, so it's going to be
Oh,
great. It's my favorite
yes.
stuff. But no, okay, so that is so realities,
Hmm.
great news to hear that it's going to be quarterly at Caveat. It's an awesome space in the Lower East Side. They have a lot of fun, themed, quirky, nerdy stuff there. So I've been there a lot. So that's awesome. So that's one. That's realities. Now the next big production that you do is Cabaret. Talked
Yes.
about it. It's a variety show. There's a lot of things that happens in a Catbaret. Not the least of which is everybody goes home with the cat ears.
Yes.
It's kind of great. But again, in your words, if anybody were to experience a Catbaret, what are they gonna come in for?
Yeah, they're going to come into a really warm, cat loving community. A lot of cat puns. It's a cat themed variety show with comedy. So, comedians who have cats, love cats, music. I always want to have one live music
Mhm.
act each show, and burlesque, or as we like to call it,
Burlesque.
purlesque.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of cat puns. I love greeting. Honestly, I love greeting people when they come in before the show starts.
Mm,
I just really like connecting with
mhm,
everyone in the audience and making sure everyone's having a good time. I
mhm,
get cat ears
mhm,
for everyone. And then during the show, we also always have raffle
mhm.
prizes to get the audience a little excitement and involved. And our next show is coming up on Halloween, or as we like to call it,
Meow. I,
Meowloween.
why did I know that even before we were gonna say meow? Okay.
So I forgot to mention, I should mention, we do like to mix it up.
Mhm,
So, I love cats. We can do all cat shows all the time,
mhm,
but there's a lot of fun holidays. So, like,
mhm,
I'm planning a Meowloween show, hopefully a holiday show. So, Meowy Christmas and Happy Hanukkahs,
mhm,
and then a Galentine's or Palentine's
mhm.
show where you can celebrate felines and friendship in
Nice.
February. So, yeah.
See, that's where the creativity tendrils come about. Like getting you holiday with your cats, because the next portion of our conversation is the one that I don't hear a lot in people that have their own podcasts.
Mm.
We all like to celebrate, promote the things that we do, but this is hard stuff.
Mhm.
Like you spend a lot of time and a lot of resources in making these shows. So I think the hard hitting question is like, for example, realities. Did you have to clear anything around using
Mm.
your rights? I
Good question.
vaguely remember that there's like gifts that were given or prize given from the show. So how does that come about? But also, I think the hardest question is, are we making money out of this? Right?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll answer both.
Mhm.
So, first is the rights. I spoke with a friend of a friend who's a lawyer who gave me some really good advice. He says around parody, fair use law, I'm pretty
Yeah.
safe.
Mhm.
I just needed not to have, like, originally the name of the show back in March, my first show, like, kind of the preview of realities, I was going to call it Vanderpump Burlesque,
Mhm.
totally rebranded
Yeah.
to Pumped, and I kept parody
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
title, and on everything I'm really clear
Mhm.
that it's a parody. And then I got promo photos done, so I'm not using photos of the
Mhm.
cast members, and so that was my way around that. And I know that I have been in touch actually with people, like some people on the show, like someone who's on the show right now, Joe, donated hats to our
Mhm.
raffle. Stassi, who was a character or a person earlier on in the show, her mom, you're right,
Mhm.
donated jewelry to our raffle. Everyone in that world has been super supportive. I even emailed Watch What Happens Live, the talk show with Andy Cohen, and they were really
Amazing.
encouraged. I told them about the show, like I wanted to be a guest bartender. It didn't happen,
Mhm.
but they were like, "Oh, the show sounds fun. Thanks for letting us know. We'll keep you in mind."
Sweet.
So I think there's no issues
Mm.
around it because it's parody.
Mhm.
As far as making money, that's really a goal of mine.
Okay. See, that's the thing. Like it's we are enriched in more ways than monetary, but I also, it will behooves me to tell people that this stuff is difficult. Like it's
Mhm.
you if you calculate the time and the actual dollars that you put into these shows, definitely, very very few shows are in the black or in the green, right? So, so what enriches you in doing these shows then?
Well, I feel like I'm growing these shows. So I did Catbaret for 5 years at QED in Astoria. Love
Mm,
that venue. So wonderful. We had a great community. But I was outgrowing the space, right? Selling out. And like I knew that if I wanted to grow our community and
mm,
monetarily, I had to move to a bigger venue.
awesome.
So I'm really excited to be at Caveat. I mean, we had a big crowd at my first Catbaret show there last month, but there were still lots of seats to fill. I mean, I think even though we had 60 people, we could have fit another 50. It's a
Mhm.
pretty big venue. And so I did make a profit, but yeah, when I put all the time, not a
Yeah.
big one.
Yeah.
And when you think about all the hours I
Yeah.
spent, no, I just mean like I'm able to pay all my performers and what I spent on supplies for the show, including advertising supplies, whatever. Yes, I did. I made a little extra, but it was
Mhm.
not as much as the time.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping now to it like gives me enrichment.
Yeah.
I love doing this, so I'm passionate about it, and I'm hoping also now I can grow. Being at this venue, I met so many new cat people at the
Mhm.
last show that I think can come back plus more.
Yeah.
And if I do it regularly now there, I can see it really growing
Mhm.
and being part of my brand, along with hopefully a podcast that's
Mhm.
about cats and performers, and I'm trying to tie it together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you said something very, very important. I've heard other producers just like they just want butts and seats. That's the
Mm,
most important. But you mentioned you grow the community,
yeah.
right? So you filled the Queens, the Astoria venue.
Mhm.
That's great. I'm sure it didn't happen overnight. I'm
No.
sure there would have been shows that might have be half full or whatnot. But now you're also thinking about the future. So it's not something that can be done, or very very few things are successful from the get. So it's good that we tell people that takes a little bit of time, lots of hard work. That's why it needs to be fueled by something that you want to do, right?
That's so true,
Mm.
and you're exactly right. When I started Catbaret, it was just like my friends in Astoria came. I'd be so excited if there was one person there who I didn't know. It took years for me to learn
Mhm.
about promoting, about
Mhm.
press releases, promo photos, everything. Like, and it took me also like just going to other shows and
Yep.
learning from things that I like that maybe they did with their promo materials, or oh, I like how they did their raffles. I used to like raffle off individual items with and I'm like,
Mhm.
no, I should do raffle bags. Like, I
Yeah.
just silly things that I just didn't really know when I started. And you're right, it takes time for people who are out there that want to like start producing or show, or feeling discouraged after just a few. But you will gain an audience. And if it's the right people, even if it's not a big audience, but if it's the people there that care
Yeah.
about what you're doing and are into it, like that's a win. That's a
Mhm.
big win
Yeah.
to have people who like what you're doing and have a good time.
Yeah. Those are all the ingredients. Like, be authentic to you. You're authentic to the things
Mhm.
that you do. It's your interest. Grow your community. They're not just audience members. They're community members. But yeah, you mentioned it as well. Like, press releases, promos, connect or networking with other shows and other
Mhm.
producers. Those aren't limited to big productions. If you're starting off in a back room somewhere, they're probably doing the same. So no, yeah, it's a lot of hard work. I'm sure right now two giant themes. You have the reality TV stuff, you have the
Mhm.
cat stuff. I'm sure there's going to be a bunch more because I remember the first job that we did
Oh
together
yeah.
was the
Glitter
Glitter
Sisters.
Sisters. Yeah,
Yes.
so that's another
Yes.
kind of like tangential stuff. So yeah, lots of pans in the fire, which is kind of awesome. Um, all right, so I think we covered a lot of how this engine is running, but this this is still essentially mostly a photography podcast. So what I love doing in this pod as well, is talking about money shots, meaning when I discuss favorite images, favorite shoots that my guests have brought to me. So for the audio listeners, I'm
Mhm.
gonna have Gemma describe
Okay.
her favorite shot that she sent to me, and I'll also describe it as well after, and then we'll discuss why this image is the one that you sent. And for the YouTube viewers, it's gonna be on your screen somewhere here, somewhere there, here, there. There you go. Yeah.
Okay, sure. So, yes, I had so many photos to choose from, but in a moment I'll share why I
Mhm.
chose this one. But just to describe it, it is me standing in a leopard print pencil dress with a red belt, and I'm on stage holding a microphone at QED. It was
Mhm.
my last show that I did
Yeah.
there, and kind of looking up and smiling
Yeah.
to the audience,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. So yeah, yep. It is indeed a it's an event photo. On stage, there's the QED logo backdrop. On the curtains, V-cut dress, right?
Mhm.
That's we get leopard print. Again, doing I think everything that you mentioned that you like. You're hosting.
Mhm.
It's fun and warm. You got the cat ears. You have the leopard print. So it is, technically this is a solid shot. Like there's, I don't do a lot of critiquing of event photography, but it's sharp. It's exposed properly. Everybody can see it. Super clear. But why this photo? Why was this the one that you sent me as your favorite?
Yeah, so even though I do love the photo itself,
Mm.
it's very sentimental for
No,
me.
got it.
Yeah, because that was my last show at QED, and I was so grateful to do the show and grow there at the venue. And sometimes I do get stressed. Well, as we do, we get
Mm,
stressed sometimes before shows. But at this show, I remember just feeling so free. Like I
mm,
changed into this dress before
mm,
the second act, and I came out and I felt so myself,
mm,
so comfortable, so free, so honestly proud of
mm.
myself that this show's grown because it had sold out, and the editor in chief from Time Out New York was there, and we had been featured as one of the in the Halloween guide, and I just like this picture because I look the way that I felt. I look like I'm doing what I love, and I'm comfortable, and I'm happy, and I love that dress too.
Yeah. 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 In season one and the early parts of season two of the Fun Shoot podcast, asking somebody their favorite image, favorite memory, you'll get a milieu of different reasons. Some are super technical, super sexy. This is the photo that I've felt the sexiest, or this is such a difficult photo to take. And sometimes it's just like, hey, it's a good experience, a good memory.
Yeah.
So that's what images, photographs, videos do to people is you freeze. It's a time machine. You get to go back to showing what had happened at that particular instance and share the narrative and the story to other people. So thank you very much for sharing with that. Along with discussing your favorite photo, I always love discussing my subjects or my friends' favorite shoots because I've
Mm.
went through I see your posts,
Yeah.
and a lot of the familiar friends and people have shot with you. We have Desiree Desad, we
Mhm.
have Lucy Lariat. So
Mhm.
tell me about, like, let's say your favorite shoot. How did it happen? And then we'll do some follow-up questions to give advice to, like, both people that are going to be taken, like, we'll have photographs of them taken, but also other photographers to give them a little bit of advice to make sure that you give as much of an amazing experience in the shoot as possible.
Oh, yes, I can do that. So I love
Mm,
the
mm,
photographers you just mentioned. I've
mm,
had such great experiences
mm,
with them. But I'm also thinking back to maybe the first time I had a photo shoot that was really nervous about and then I felt comfortable. And that was with Jessica Osberg. She
mhm,
does a lot of like actors, but whenever I do a shoot with her, I kind of choose the lifestyle option
mhm,
because although, yeah, I do voiceover, I want some more personality
mm,
shots for my website. And so I remember this one time before a shoot with her, I was waiting outside and I think she had another person in before me.
mhm,
And she's like, "Oh my gosh, you're beautiful, you're amazing," or whatever. I don't know. I'm hearing all this like excitement and she's
mhm.
like, she gets excited. And I was like, "Oh gosh, I hope I can live up to that." And then by the end of my shoot, because of like the direction she's giving and her energy, I felt so free and like
Mm,
amazing and like gorgeous
yeah.
just because she is, the light, the
Mhm,
direction,
mhm,
and then her energy back. I felt very comfortable. Of course, you always put on I'm sure
yeah.
you do this. You put
Mhm,
on the music that makes you comfortable. And I think me always saying, I'm not a
mhm.
model first. I used to always say that because I'm a little awkward.
Mm,
But the more that I've done these shoots, and since then I've done like with Lucy and
mhm,
Desiree, and I'm always learning things
mm,
from them. I'm getting a little more comfortable to
mm.
try different movements
Yeah.
myself.
Mhm. And so, yeah, breaking down your response, I heard two things of note that I want to hone in and like address to our listening and viewing audience right now. So one, you were the one who picked a package. You picked a lifestyle
Yes.
package. So that's something that I think is also lost in terms of being a client or being a subject
Mm.
is you need to know what you want. You
Yes.
can't just like, I know, like I'm sounding like a giant hypocrite right now because like I don't plan shoots. My shoots are just come in. Maybe you'll have clothes on, maybe you don't. Like we'll figure stuff out. But the idea of it is, it's if you are a model, if you're a subject, if you're a client, you need to know what you want. It doesn't necessarily have to be the thing that's going to be happen all the time, but like you need to know what you want, pick that, so at least you are prepared for something that is you're going to use it for your brand. So no matter how awesome a photographer is, a painter is, or whoever is going to capture image, no one knows your brand more than you. So
Yeah.
you bring that forward. So that's something that, piqued my ears when you mentioned. And the other one too is like photographers, energy. You mentioned
Mhm.
energy, you mentioned music. There's a delicate balance between, being authentic and being also, how do you say this? Creating maybe a slightly artificial environment of comfort, because
Mm.
not all people are high energy,
Yeah.
right? So if I were in a shoot and I'd be like, oh my god, this is so good, people like my friends would like, who's this dumb dumb talking, right? So it needs to be still you. So maybe you're a little bit of a more of a quiet. Maybe you're like an Anne Geeds or like an Annie Leibovitz photographer, very soft spoken, very clear. Or yeah, you might be somebody like Jessica
Yeah.
Amber, that is
Yeah.
like good direction,
Yeah.
bubbly, I'm assuming. So find a way to make the energy positive. It doesn't have to be high energy, low energy. Make it positive vibes, not negative vibes.
Yeah, I
So
think that's so true. I
mhm,
think just like that warm, positive
mhm,
atmosphere, whatever the person's vibe is, as
mhm.
long as you're feeling like they're happy to be there with you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That is something that I will clip. Because I forget that sometimes too. It's like you have to make sure that you're happy to do your job, because in the end, like either people are going paying good money or spending good time, expecting something good. It's like, they're there, they're in your hands. So you want to make sure that they have a positive experience and whatnot. All right, so I've been learning with our conversation as well. So we're nearing the end. Do want to make sure that we triple, quadruple down on the things that you are working on, because personally, not only as somebody that you've hired to capture
Mhm.
all of these things, but again, I'm not pressing the shutter button every single second of the entire show. I'm viewing it as well. I am vibing with the people. I'm learning new things because again, I had no idea what Vanderpump Rules was. I remember having a great time. I
Oh.
I I was stressed because everybody was having such a good time and they keep on getting a damn shot. Like
Oh.
it's like because of one, you packed the show. Congrats.
Thanks.
It's a great space. Hellphone in Brooklyn. Shout out. We'll put some links there to and some sample photos. But that was like my thing. But on occasion, I'll be like drawn or just like lost in whatever. Even if I don't know what had happened in the story and what they've been trying to do, like you get it. Like
Oh, good. I'm
you
glad.
it's context clues. It's like when people are going crazy,
Yeah.
like you get to enjoy as well. And then it's like, why are you guys going crazy with that word? Oh, okay. All right. And
Well,
plus, great performers, of
and
course.
I wanna give you a shout
Mhm.
out. I always love
Oh,
your
I
show
appreciate it. Thank you
photos
very
and
much.
videos and your they're just fantastic. So
Yeah.
many I always have the hardest time narrowing them down.
That is the goal. But I distinctly remember in the pump show is I always bring more cameras than I need, and I had my A camera become the B camera. Like
Mm.
I have like a dead on straight camera shot, but because the place got so packed, and in the first time that we did that show in Halfon, there was a piano back there,
I know. Yeah, I
right?
think they moved
Well,
it.
for
Yeah.
more space.
Yeah, yeah.
It's smart
Thank
on them,
goodness.
right? But I remember it's like, oh, if it became packed, I could always. I remember having there was like a moving blanket on top of that piano so things can be put on top of it. So I can always put the camera on the piano, but there wasn't there in the show. So luckily I have like four other cameras to capture that show, because like you really didn't want to miss any of the actual parody. So it was super fun. So,
And I do want to give you one more shout
mm,
out. I love how you edited the videos. Like I didn't even know you were going to
mm.
do that with the three different
You
views
have
and
to.
so quickly. I mean, they're so fantastic. I'm reusing them, as you see, for so many footage for our promo of our next show.
Yeah, well, so again, promoting myself, but the idea of it is, um, I understand for producers out there, creatives out there, or smaller brands too. I know it's very difficult to put value on um, documentation, but again, in the right hands, you'll have enough material to continue to reach out to your audience. And unfortunately, and we were talking off pod about this, like I'm, videographer second, photographer first. I'm not even an event photographer. I do portraits in my apartment. Um, but we are in an age now that if you want to be relevant, if you want to be seen, and not in a braggadocious, I want to be famous way, the real producers or real performers, you want to reach out to your audience. You want to reach out
Mhm.
to the people that will appreciate that work. Like you want to reach out to the other Vanderpump Rules crazies out
Yes.
there,
Yes.
right?
I'm following
Yeah,
them.
you need,
Following them on
so
Instagram.
that's the idea. It's like, in order for those people to see your content and enjoy content, you have to quote unquote play the game, play the algorithms of, photo is not as powerful as 5 6 years ago. Everything is video,
Reels. Yeah.
everything is short form. So that is kind of like the things that we need to do. But yeah, I just like I also, I don't like working with assistants. I don't like doing two
Mm.
or three people, not only because we have to split the revenue, but I always feel that I'm much more efficient by myself, but I'm only one. So I just prop on like five cameras a show, and then have luckily have like my workflow down where I can kind of do it in a weekend or a couple of days, so that um, the people that hired you always get the content back, because that's also the common theme that the common complaint that I'm hearing from other subjects and models or even clients is like, takes a long time to get the stuff back.
Yep.
It's a lot of work. I
Mhm.
totally understand. So I know it's not as my stuff is not as complicated as other people. So I'm very lucky with that. But there's other people that are very very perfectionist that will take 5 million years to edit one photo. So
I like that you could have a quick turnaround. It's great because I went to a producers meeting at Caveat and they say that like it's really great as soon as you have a show to celebrate it and to post some content.
mhm,
Not so much of look what you missed out on, but like look what a great time we had. And
mhm.
it's really like a good time to
Even the
post.
audience members themselves, they can that's the number one form of promotion, is if you have the audience member either liking it, resharing it, retweeting it. It's difficult, like this is New York, you go to 5,000 shows over a weekend. It's good to kind of like be reminded right after. It's like, oh yeah, I did have a good time last Thursday. It's like, even you extend that good time as much as possible. But towards the end now, all right, we've discussed, super thank you for your time and your knowledge, and everything that you shared, hopefully for other producers, performers out there, people are just like finding what they're good for them. So before we close out, let's just remind people, where can people follow you,
Mhm.
and then the next show in June.
Yeah, so people can follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Gemma Smith NYC, and that's GEMMA, Gemma Smith NYC, and then through theirs you'll see links to my other like show pages. But June 25th,
Mhm.
9 p.m. at Caveat is Realities Burlesque. Early
Pow,
bird
pow,
tickets are
pow.
on sale through June 11th. But
Mm.
yeah, hope people who love Vanderpump Rules and reality TV would love to see you there.
No, I have it on good authority. There's a very handsome photographer in that show as well. But uh, if this is your first time listening to the Fun Street podcast, thank you very much. We'd love it for if you'd subscribe to the channel. It's youtube.com/. Jong. So I do this podcast ideally once a month, but because we have these shows, I'm going to pump out a couple of episodes in June For all y'alls, I also do behind the scenes of my shoots. We also do a lot of camera related content in terms of reviews, reflections, research about new gears that's coming. So you're going to get a lot of those fun shows every week. But the bedrock of the channel is we try to celebrate the artists and performers out here in New York. So every Wednesday, you will have a new live performance from one of the shows that I have filmed. It'll either be burlesque, sideshow, circus, musicians. But every Wednesday, you'll be sure to find amazing art, amazing live performance for you to enjoy. So hopefully, share that to your friends as well. And if you want to reach out and you want to interact, my handle is Jong at EL underscore JONG on all of the socials: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. And with that, thank you very much for watching. Thank you to Miss Gemma Stone slash Gemma Smith. Don't forget Catbaret and Reali-Tease. Search those in your social as well. All the links will be in the description below. So you won't forget to remind yourself to have a good time. Thank you very much. Bye.